How do you decide which genocide is the worst when the galaxy has witnessed mass atrocities like the bombing of Tipoca City, Mandalore's Night of 1,000 Tears, and the obliteration of Hosnian Prime? These events didn't just claim lives, they erased entire cultures, destroyed families, and left scars that shaped the fate of countless worlds. As we examine each of these darkest moments in Star Wars history, prepare to witness just how far these acts of brutality can go. Topoka City bombing. The Topoka City bombing during the Clone Wars marked a devastating blow to the Galactic Republic's war effort. Kamino, a water-covered world and the center of the Republic's cloning operations, became the Separatists' primary target. Tipoca City, built atop massive stilts above the endless ocean, housed state-of-the-art cloning facilities and millions of Kaminoan civilians. The Separatists understood that destroying this city would cripple the Republic's ability to produce new soldiers. The attack resulted in an estimated 100 million to 1 billion lives lost, including Kaminoans and clone personnel. By eliminating Topoka City, the Separatists aimed to cut off the Republic's supply of clone soldiers, a process that had taken decades to perfect. The deaths of Kaminoan scientists, the loss of genetic templates, and the destruction of advanced equipment meant the Republic could no longer replenish its ranks. Forced to rely on their remaining clone forces, the Republic faced a desperate scramble to maintain their military advantage. The bombing of Topoka City demonstrated the effectiveness of targeting both a civilization's population and its infrastructure. Such tactics would soon be echoed on an even larger scale, as the galaxy witnessed acts of destruction that erased entire worlds in moments. Destruction of Jedha City. Jedha City, a sacred site for Force followers, became the target of the Empire's first public demonstration of the Death Star's superlaser. In an instant, around 100,000 civilian and partisan lives were erased. People who included worshippers, ordinary citizens, and members of Saw Gerrera's rebel extremists. The destruction of Jedha was not only about testing the Death Star's weapon or sending a warning to would-be rebels. The Empire targeted Jedha both as a staging ground for rebel activity and as a major source of kyber crystals, which were essential for constructing the superlaser itself. By leveling the city, the Empire eliminated resistance to their mining operations and sent a chilling message about the consequences of defiance. For those who witnessed the attack, the emotional shock was profound. This calculated massacre marked the beginning of a new era, one where entire worlds could be erased without warning, and the scale of destruction was only set to grow. Bombardment of Moncala. The Bombardment of Moncala stands as a brutal reminder of the Empire's willingness to bring entire populations to heel through overwhelming force. Before the devastation began, Grand Moff Tarkin ordered a blockade and targeted raids on Moncala's shipyards, escalating tensions and cutting off vital resources. When the Empire finally unleashed its full assault, an estimated 1 to 10 million lives were lost. The assault was more than an act of military dominance. It was psychological warfare. Imperial forces bombarded cities and destroyed infrastructure, collapsing local economies and devastating marine trade routes that the Mon Calamari depended on. The intent was to crush the spirit of the population, yet it sparked the opposite reaction. Figures like Admiral Raddus would turn the suffering of Moncala into resolve, providing the rebel fleet with critical capital ships and strategic leadership. This event reveals the Empire's uncompromising strategy to extinguish hope wherever it appeared. Its campaign of terror would soon target entire cultures, aiming not just to kill, but to erase identity itself. Night of 1,000 Tears. The Night of 1,000 Tears stands as a defining tragedy in Mandalorian history. During the Great Purge of Mandalore, the Empire launched a calculated assault that killed several million Mandalorians in a matter of hours. This was not random destruction. It was a deliberate act of genocide with the goal of erasing Mandalorian resistance once and for all. The Empire's tactics were ruthless and systematic. Waves of TIE bombers and Trident-class assault ships devastated Mandalorian cities from the sky, while gunships hunted down recruits and civilians on the ground. Entire communities were wiped out, their homes and gathering places obliterated in minutes. Survivors, including figures like Bo-Katan Kryze and Din Djarin, were forced into hiding, scattered across the galaxy as their clans fractured and their way of life was nearly destroyed. The aftermath left Mandalorian society deeply scarred, with generations of warriors and leaders lost. The Empire's actions served as a warning to any world that might consider resisting its rule. Kashyyyk Massacre. On Kashyyyk, the Empire's occupation brought systematic brutality to the Wookiee population. Between 10 and 50 million Wookiees were killed or worked to death as their world was transformed into an Imperial slave camp. The Empire also targeted the Quarren, forcing both species into servitude. Wookiees were compelled to cut down their sacred Rosher trees, stripping away the physical and cultural foundations of their society. The harvested wood fueled Imperial construction, while families were separated and shipped off-world to endure forced labor under horrific conditions. To maintain control, the Empire relied on harsh tactics. Inhibitor chips were implanted in Wookiees, delivering electric shocks for the slightest resistance or delay. These chips could be used to kill at a moment's notice, ensuring obedience through constant fear. This campaign of enslavement and cultural destruction left deep scars, showing the lengths to which Imperial rule would go to impose its will. Sterilization of Geonosis. The sterilization of Geonosis stands as one of the most chilling examples of the Empire's calculated cruelty. After the Geonosians built the Separatist droid army and contributed to the early construction of the Death Star, their deep knowledge of the superweapons design made them a liability. The Empire's actions on Geonosis were driven by a single goal: to eliminate any threat to the secrecy of the superweapon. This was not a conventional military campaign. Under Grand Moff Tarkin's orders, poison gas canisters were deployed throughout Geonosis, flooding the planet's vast underground hive cities. The natural caves, once a refuge for generations, became deadly traps as the gas spread through every tunnel and chamber. Survivors who escaped the initial attack were systematically hunted down by Imperial forces. The Empire also sterilized Geonosian eggs, ensuring that the species could not recover. In the end, nearly 100 billion Geonosians were annihilated and sterilized, a scale of genocide unmatched in the Empire's history. Destruction of Aldderon. The destruction of Aldderon stands as one of the Empire's most infamous atrocities. Grand Moff Tarkin, with Emperor Palpatine's approval, selected the peaceful core world to showcase the Death Star's power and intimidate the Rebel Alliance. In seconds, the super laser annihilated Aldderon, a thriving planet of 2 billion people, leaving nothing but debris. Of Aldderon's 2 billion, only about 60,000 survived off-world. The deaths resonated in the Force, weakening those attuned to it. This act was not random violence. Aldderon symbolized diplomacy and peace, home to leaders like Bail Organa, who had surrendered himself in hopes of saving his daughter and his people. Princess Leia was forced to watch as her family, friends, and entire civilization were wiped out while she was held captive on the Death Star. Instead of breaking her, the loss solidified her resolve to fight the Empire. The Empire's attempt to rule through terror failed. The destruction of Aldderon outraged the galaxy, turning neutral systems against Imperial rule and fueling a surge in rebel recruitment. The event became a rallying cry, exposing the Empire's willingness to commit genocide for strategic advantage. Destruction of Hosnian Prime. Starkiller Base introduced a new scale of destruction to the galaxy. The First Order's superweapon drained its star's energy before firing, enabling it to obliterate not just a single planet, but the entire Hosnian system in one strike. This attack wiped out multiple worlds, including Hosnian Prime, and killed an estimated 200 to 300 billion beings, the largest single act of genocide in Star Wars history. The scope of devastation extended far beyond numbers, as the loss encompassed whole populations and cultures across the system. Hosnian Prime was more than a political capital. It was the seat of the New Republic Senate, the center of military command and a symbol of democracy's return after the Empire's collapse. By destroying the Hosnian system, the First Order eliminated the New Republic's leadership and much of its fleet, leaving the galaxy without guidance or defense. The sudden vacuum of power threw countless systems into confusion and left ordinary citizens vulnerable to the First Order's rapid expansion. This calculated act of terror demonstrated the First Order's technological superiority and willingness to erase entire civilizations for strategic gain. The aftermath left the galaxy gripped by grief and fear, with only the Resistance standing in opposition. In the face of such destruction, the consequences of unchecked power became clear. As we look back at these defining moments in Star Wars history, we see more than just numbers and destruction. We see the deliberate erasure of cultures, the silencing of resistance, and the reshaping of the galaxy through fear. Each genocide, from the bombing of Tipoca City to the annihilation of Hosnian Prime, stands as a reminder of the destructive cost of tyranny and the vulnerability of freedom. These stories echo real-world struggles, prompting us to consider the living legacies of those who survived and rebuilt after unimaginable loss. Comment below which atrocity surprised you most, and let's continue exploring how hope and resilience persist even in the darkest times. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and force push the notification button.